Agree with me? Yes, Mr. Leonard. You're the boss. Awesome. You the man. You the man. Booyah. Okay, so subtracting integers. You know, we know how to subtract basic integers. We can all do things like 12 minus 3. 12 minus 3 gives a... That's right. We can almost do it on our fingers, right? Or, well, your fingers and 2 toes. Take off your shoes. 12 minus whatever you get. We can do that. We can do that sort of thing. What I want you to look at is this. This is going to be kind of interesting. Check it out. I want you to figure out what that's equal to. Hey, look it.
Negative.
That has a plus now, right? Plus means you can use addition rules. Does this have the same sign or different signs?
Yep.
That mean add or subtract?
Subtract.
Keep the sign of the...
Take large.
What are we going to get?
9.
Positive.
Weird. Same thing. Here's what it says. Here's what this says to you, I hope. It says that subtraction is mathematically equivalent, that means the same exact thing, as adding the opposite of the original number. Subtraction and adding a negative are the same thing. Do you agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
Can you see that on the board right now? Subtraction and adding a negative, that's identical. What this says is that we can change any subtraction problem into an addition problem. Anything we want. Here's how we do it. What we're going to do is we are going to change a minus into, look what we did up here before I write it. I changed this problem for us. I changed the minus into, it became a plus. Look at it became a plus. Not just a plus though. I mean, obviously, I can't do things like this. Look at the board. I can't do, this is the same as this. Are those the same?
No.
No, one's 3, one's 17. That doesn't work. It doesn't just change arbitrarily. It's not like I'm Harry Potter with my math wand. Change, yeah. No, that doesn't happen. But what it does do, it says, if I want to change it to a plus, I can do it, as long as I make this a negative. That's legal. Okay, so I change a minus into plus a negative number. That's what we're going to be doing. That's going to change our minuses into addition rule. That's great. That means we can use those rules we just accomplished. That's fantastic. Don't you like that? Of course, yeah, easier. So in general, whenever we see a minus b, we're not going to leave it as a minus b. What we're going to do is we're going to leave the a, that's fine. We're going to change the minus into a what?
A plus.
Not just a plus, but we have to have something after that.
Negative.
Good. A minus becomes a plus negative.
Oh.
Plus negative. And it's going to be in parentheses to say that that is my negative value right there. Nod your head if you're still with me on this. You guys in the back? Okay. Okay, let's do these two together. We'll talk about one more thing and be done for today. Negative 3 minus 10. Negative 3 minus 10. That's how you would read that too, right? Negative 3 minus 10? You would read it minus 3 minus 10? Wherever you say Listen carefully, please. Whenever you say or read in your mind or hear the word minus, that's what you're going to change. Are you going to change negatives? No. You can't change negative. You can't change this negative here. You can change the minus, though. We're not going to change this one. That's not going to do anything. But this minus, we're going to change that one. Do you see the difference? Yeah or no?
Yeah.
We're going to change the minus. So it says negative 3 minus 10. We're going to keep the negative 3. That one's not the problem for us. That's fine. What am I going to change the minus to, everybody?
Plus minus.
Just plus 10?
I mean plus negative.
Can I do that?
Yes.
That just like that.
No, you have to put a negative.
What's wrong with this picture?
You have to put a negative in front of the 10.
Oh, so I can't just remember. I'm not Harry. You're not Harry Potter, are you? Harry Potter? For the real Harry Potter, please stand up. No, you can't just arbitrarily change a minus to a plus. What you can do is that you change a minus to a plus negative of that number. That's what you can do. You can't just change minus to plus. Yay! That doesn't work. Okay? You change a minus to plus the negative value. Oh, you understand the difference there? Yeah, it's important that you get it. If not, ask me a question. If you got time, ask a question about that. If you're not quite so sure. That's what we did here, right? Minus didn't just become, these are not equal. Look. Not equal. Clearly different. Clearly different, right? Clearly different. That does not make sense. This makes sense. Minus can't just change to a plus. Change to plus and negative. That's what we're doing. Hey, can you do this problem now?
Yeah.
Negative 3 plus negative 10?
Negative 13.
Great. Same sign. Add them together. Keep the common sign. We just went over that. So our idea is change minuses and then use the addition rule. Change minuses and then use the addition rule. Let's try this one. We've got 12 minus 17. Is there anything to change up there?
Yeah.
Yeah, we said minus, right? That means we're going to change it.
Why do you change it?
So we can use the addition rules. That's honestly the only reason. You learned those addition rules from last time. Now we're going to change minuses into plus negatives so we can accomplish using the addition rule. That's a good question. So another time. What am I going to write next? Am I just going to write this?
No, negative 17.
Good. It is going to become a plus, but you also have to incorporate a negative 17. Okay, that's important for us. We've got to do that. Just by the head nod, are you okay with this so far? Yes, I see some no's, some yeses. We already talked about that this is true, right? That was true. We did addition rule. So this thing is the same as that thing. It is equivalent. I'm not lying to you there. That's the same thing. We can do this every single time we have a minus. Change it to a plus negative. So last question. What's the answer here?
Negative 5.
Good. Subtract. Sounds like your number. I'll leave you with one more thing for today in the last 3 minutes. Now, I showed you this about 2 or 3 classes ago, and I said we're going to use this in a little while. Here's where we get to use it. I kind of previewed this information for you. I said sometimes you're going to see things that look like this. Do you remember that?
Yep.
I said you do something with that. Even if there's numbers out front and within. This is read, how would you read this?
Negative
5 minus negative 6.
Did you say the word minus?
5 minus negatives.
You did, right? You're going to change every word you see minus. There's 2 options here. Here, you change your minus to plus negative. That's great. But I also told you about this thing. I said whenever you see a minus and a negative like that, you're going to change that too. Jeff actually had an idea that lets you kind of remember this. If you take that minus and the negative, what sign could you make out of it if you turn this one?
Oh, plus.
You can make it plus. Yeah, I can't really make it equal, not yet. But if you have 2 like this, change one of them, you make a plus out of that. Do you make 2 signs? No, you just make 1 sign. Okay? I know this is kind of, if this is new for you, it's like, wow, this is a lot to take in. I get it. There's one way we can remember it. Here we're taking one sign, our minus, and change it into 2. Here we're taking 2 signs and changing it into 1. You're always doing one or the other. You're never changing, listen carefully please. You're never changing one sign into a different sign, or 2 signs into 2 signs. It's always either going from 1 to 2 or 2 to 1. Do you see that? Look at 1 to 2, 2 to 1. In every case, even if it's just A or B, in every case, if you have minus and negative like that, you're going to change that not into plus and negative, just the plus. 2 signs become 1 sign. The reason why that works, it's like if you're subtracting a negative, you're taking away a debt. That's like me giving you money. Imagine this. Okay, imagine this for a second. 1 second. Let's say you owed someone $10, okay? So you have like 50 and you owe someone $10, and I come to you and I say, okay, tell you what, I just paid that person for you. Isn't that like I gave you $10?
Yeah.
I took away your debt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look at this is taking away, subtraction, taking away. A negative is like a debt. I just took away your debt, it's like I gave you money. Does that make sense to you?
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's like. This one, subtraction is like you're adding debt. I'm adding a debt. Okay, that's why we can change subtraction to that. I say, okay, you have $100. Now you owe that person 50. So I added a debt to you. It's just like taking away money. That's how you can think of these two things. We'll practice this later. Of course, that's going to be 11. How many people understood what we talked about today? Good. Good for you. So with our 2 cases for subtraction, the first case we have just minus, the second case we have minus and negative. We will be changing each of these to addition. It depends on which one you have, and you got to do the right one. So on the first case, just our A minus B, what we do is we're going to change that instead of A minus B. We can't just arbitrarily change it to A plus. That doesn't make any sense. Minus does not mean plus. But what it does mean, subtraction is mathematically the same thing as adding the opposite of your original number. That's true. So A minus B is the same thing mathematically as A plus negative B. Subtracting or adding a negative is the same thing. And I think I gave you the example. It's kind of like adding a debt, all right? Think about it this way. Let's say you had $100 and someone took away $50. How much are you going to have? 50 bucks. Now let's think about it a different way. You have $100 and you take on a debt. You add a debt of $50. So you go out and you put money on your credit card for $50. Essentially, you still only have $50 left, don't you? You're gonna owe that money at some point. That's the equivalent statement here. So subtraction, it's like you're taking the money away just directly. Adding a negative, it's like you're still taking the money away. It's just like you're kind of adding on a debt to what you're going to owe people. Does that make sense to you? It's kind of an analogy to how we can think of subtraction and adding a negative as the same thing. They are the same thing. The other case, subtracting a negative number, that's like me going up to you and taking away your debt. So I think I said this last time as well, but let's say that you had a certain amount of money and you owed someone else like $10. Let's say you have $100 and you owe someone $10, okay? And I come up to you and I say, hey, I just paid that person the $10 that you owe them. It's kind of like I just gave you $10, isn't it? Kind of like I gave you $10. So I subtracted your debt. I took away your debt, didn't I? I went over and I said, oh, I'm taking that debt away. I subtracted the money that you owed. It's like I gave you money. So if I subtracted the debt of $10, it's like I gave you $10. I just paid it for you. That means that we can change minus a negative into just a plus sign. Subtracting a debt is like I'm giving you the money. It's like I'm adding it to your account. That's basically what we're doing here. So you have 2 cases. Just straight minuses change into plus negatives. Minus and negative changes into just straight plus. One way I like to remember this is you are never going to go from one sign to one sign or 2 signs to 2 signs. It's always either 1 sign to 2 signs or 2 to 1. You're always changing the number of signs somehow. Does that make sense to you? So notice what I'm talking about. 1 sign to 2 signs or 2 signs to 1 sign. That's what you're doing here. You never go 2 to 2, you never go 1 to 1. And we're going to practice this a lot today because, well, this is basically all we're doing. So let's go ahead and give this a try. I think we've already done a couple examples, but it'd be nice to revisit those. The first one we did was the 12 minus 17. That's this case, and we're going to see how that works for us. And 5 minus negative 6. That's this case, and so you have an example for each case. Now, in the first case, 12 minus 17, we don't really want to invent new rules for subtraction. That's going to be way too much work. And so this was where the whole idea came from. We're going to change subtraction, the minus, into a plus in using one of these two cases. So, since it falls under here, I know instead of 12 minus 17, what I can write is change this one sign into two signs. The only thing we have to do is make it 12 instead of minus. I know that's equivalent to adding the negative version or the opposite of that number. That's this. That's this thing right here. So instead of subtraction, we're adding the negative. Are you okay with that? You still with me? Do you believe me that subtraction is the same thing as adding the negative? Are you starting to see that? It's like taking away money or adding a debt. That's the same principle. I either take it directly from you or you put it on a credit card and it comes away from you at some point. It's the same idea. Either way, you're taking away money. So here, we're adding the negative or adding the opposite of that number. And now we get to use addition rules. This is the whole principle right here. Use those addition rules that we just learned. So we have different signs. We're going to, what now?
Subtract.
Great. How much do we get when we subtract?
5, negative.
We get the number 5, but then you got to determine whether it's positive or negative. So I know the 5, and is this negative or positive?
Negative.
Why negative?
Because the next number is the bigger number.
Very good, that's exactly right. Now the next one, we have our second case up here. Notice the difference in the way these problems look. One's just a single minus. One's subtracting a negative. This one's like taking away your debt. It's like I'm giving you the money. And we know that anytime we see a minus and a negative, we're not going to change this into two signs, we're going to change this into one sign. We're going to do 5 instead of minus a negative. You might have seen this before if you've ever been through this type of material. The idea that you can make a plus sign out of this. Some people like to show this little graphic. Right? They like to show that. You should move it over and make a plus. And that's one way to kind of remember that. Mathematically, what we're doing is we're taking away a debt. It's like adding money. We know that a negative, subtracting a negative is equivalent to just adding.
Do you want to change both sides?
We're making those two signs into one sign.
Okay.
And then, hey, now we got just basic addition, right? Use those addition rules. They're both positive, same sign. We add them together, keep the common sign, we get 11. Those are the two cases that we have. That's it. That's it for subtraction. They're either going to look like this one or that one. There's no other cases. Anything else would have addition to it already, and then you don't have to change it at all. Isn't that kind of nice?
Yes.
If it has addition, don't change it. If it has subtraction, change it using these two cases. And we're going to practice that a lot today right now. Are you ready to start practicing this stuff?
Yeah.
I hope you're ready. You brought your practicing shoes, right? You're wearing the right shoes? Your math practicing shoes?
Nope.
You're not?
That's in my home.
Seriously? Oh, you should go get them. You can't do math without the right shoes. Hasn't anyone told you that before?
I'll try.
I think he's got it. I'm just kidding. That was a joke. Okay, let's keep going on this stuff here. Can you read that out loud for me?
Negative 3 minus negative 8.
Perfect. So notice how we didn't say minus 3, right? We said negative 3. We're not going to change anything that says negative. What we really are looking for is the thing that says minus. That's what we need to change. So when we read this, we go, negative 3. Do I need to change the negative 3? Nah, I don't care about that one. That's great. That's fine for me. What I care about is this right here, these ones. When you have
change both of them?
We're going to make those two into one.
Okay.
Two signs go to one sign, or one sign goes to two signs. That's the two cases we have. So in our case, we go, okay, negative 3, let's leave it. Now, can you tell me, look at
Why did they even leave the negative 3 though?
why do we leave the negative 3? Well, because it's just a signed number. There's nothing really we can change it to. There's not another sign in front of it that we can manipulate. We could change it to plus a negative, but we're not adding it to anything. So it's just going to go back to the same thing over and over. You could change it, but it would automatically change back right after. So that's a good question. I want you to tell me what case we're in. We'll call this one case number 1. We'll call this one case number 2. What does this problem look more like? Does it look more like case number 1 or more like case number 2?
Number 2.
Definitely number 2, because we're subtracting a negative. You all see that, right?
Yeah.
And whenever we see that, we're going to change those 2 signs into 1 sign. What sign does it change to?
Plus.
Plus, very good. So instead of -3 minus -8, it's like I'm taking away your debt. That's like I'm giving you money. That's all you have to do. 2 signs become 1 sign. Now can we keep going? Sweet. Yeah, now we got addition rule. This is like a problem we did yesterday or the day before. We've been working on this for a couple days now. So we got addition rule. These are different signs. We will,
Subtract.
great, keep the sign of the, okay. So when we do this, how much are we going to get?
5. I don't remember that.
That's it. We're done. Let's do one more together, and then I'm going to give you several to do on your own. I want to make sure that you're really getting this. So we're going to read this in our head. We're going to kind of think about it. If you read this in your head right now, it should say -7 minus 2. Is that what it's saying in your head right now?
Yeah.
Are we going to change the negative?
No.
We're going to change the minus? Yeah, anytime you say minus, you have to change that
So
to use.
basically, anytime there's the same signs together, you're gonna change it, or?
Anytime you have a minus and a negative together, you won't ever have a positive and a positive together. That's not going to happen. Okay, but anytime you have a minus and a negative, you're going to change that. Anytime you hear the word minus, you're going to change that somehow. So here when we say -7 minus 2, right there in your head should say, oh, that's a minus. I need to change that in order to use the addition rules. Yeah? No? Okay. Now, can you tell me which case we're more likely to be in? The case number 1 or the case number 2? Let's look carefully. Let's look carefully. Does this look exactly like the last problem we did?
No.
It's close. It's got a negative here, just like this one does. But this one had minus and negative. This one just has the minus. Does that make things different for us? Yeah. Yeah, it does. Here we had minus and negative. We made that a plus. Here we have just a minus. We make it a plus, a negative. So in our case, are we going to change -7? The answer is no. We're not going to change that one. But we are going to change that minus. Now, we just talked about this, but you can't just change it to a plus. That doesn't work. You can't just change minuses to pluses. It either takes 2 signs to make 1 sign, or out of 1 sign, you make it into 2 signs. Does that make sense to you? Plus, yeah, you also need a negative there. Are you seeing what I mean about changing 2 signs to 1 sign, or 1 sign to 2 signs?
Why do you make it a negative?
Because if you did this, to answer this question, is this the same? You the same thing?
9 and 15, no?
So they're not the same.
No.
Okay. So what that means to me is that I can't just go about changing minuses to pluses. I can't do that. Okay, because they're not the same operation. However, we can change the problem just slightly enough. Instead of just doing +3, I'm going to say, okay, that's not the same, but 12 plus -3.
So whatever you change, like you're changing the minus to a positive, right? So whatever you change, you got to change that, like another negative or minus with it.
When you're changing the minus, you're changing it to a plus. But in order to do that, you have to make the second number negative.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you've got to do that. Here it's a little different story. I don't want you to confuse them and have the same case here. Here you do have 2 signs. It's a minus and negative. You are going to change that to a single plus. That's the difference.
Stay with the 2 things that he showed you, the 2 examples at the beginning, where he's going 1 to 2 and 2 to 1. That's the key.
That's what we're really going off of. I mean, we know that the fundamentals, they do work. If you try to do it this way and just change 1 sign to 1 sign, you're going to get 9 and 15. That's not going to work. You have to get 9 and have the same thing when you're doing the addition rule. It's got to be the same, otherwise this process doesn't work for you. Did that make sense to you back there?
Tight.
Okay, good. And we'll practice a lot more, so keep with it. Okay, so we're changing this to plus and negative. We have now same sign or different signs. Because we're back to addition rules. So let's get rolling on this stuff. Same sign or different signs, everybody. We're going to add or subtract. Great, and
-9.
look at little math robots. -9. It's very cool. Now go wash my car. No? Extra credit? Sure, extra credit. I'll give you 1,000,000 points right now. I got 2 cars. They both need washing.
How big?
Big and little. Yeah, the little one's easy. Big
I
one's
got a son. He'll be good. I'll send him over.
Sure, yeah. Go ahead and sell out your son. That's fine. Whatever.
He's helping me with this. I have a question.
Okay, I'm going to give you several examples. I want you to work through these on your own. Remember, you're going to be changing every time you see a minus, you're changing it into a plus using these 2 cases. If you have a minus by itself, I hope you're listening, I hope you're not zoning out right now. If you have a minus by itself, you're changing it to plus and negative. If you have minus and negative, you're changing it to just a plus. Remember, 1 sign becomes 2 signs, or 2 signs become 1 sign. That's your key. So let's go ahead and, with that in mind, do these problems. I'll be walking around right now. If you need help, raise your hand. I will come help you. So we're working through, we're going to change any minuses using those 2 rules that we just found out. That's going to change it to addition, so not a plus. Then we use addition rules. See, lots of good work so far. That's good, real good. Okay, so our job right now, we're in the business of changing minus signs so we can use addition rule. So our business is pretty good because we have lots of minus signs up here. So we have -8 minus 2. We're not changing the -8, we are changing the -2. Remember this, you're going to change 1 sign into 2 signs or 2 signs into 1 sign. That's what we're doing. So here we do -8. We're going to do, we can't just make it a plus, but we can make it a plus as long as we make the 2 a negative. What I want to know is how many people did that right there. Good, that's good, okay. Now we can use addition rule. Now we have the whole process of, oh, same sign or different sign, and you all say same sign. And then we go, do we add or subtract? And we go, oh, we add, awesome. And we're going to keep the common sign. So hopefully on your paper you got a -10 right now. Did you get -10? Yeah. Fantastic. Okay, next one. It's either 1 sign to 2 signs or 2 signs to 1 sign. You can even go a little bit further than that if you really want to. You can think about it like this. 1 sign to 2 different signs, or 2 same signs to 1 different sign, because they're switching right there, aren't they? That's kind of nice. Think about it that way. So we have minus and negative. We know we're going to change that into a, what is it? Uh-huh. So we should have 11 plus 15. We add those together, we get 26, I think. 6 minus 9. 6 minus 9. Are we more like the first one or more like the second one here?
First one. First one.
We have only one sign, right?
Yes.
We're going to change that into how many signs?
2.
And they're going to be different signs. That means plus and negative. So 6 plus negative 9, we're going to use addition rule there. They have different signs. We'll subtract sign of the bigger number. You should have got negative 3. Did you get negative 3?
Yes. Perfect.
Okay, moving on. We got negative 9 minus negative 1. Oh my gosh, that has two signs together. They're the same signs. We're going to combine those to make one sign. So this one we'll leave alone. However, the minus and negative, we have to be able to see that and change it. What are we going to make that?
Positive 1.
Negative 9 plus 1. So the minus and negative changes to just a plus. How much? Great. Yeah, addition rule, subtract, sign a bigger number. Only 2 more to go. We got negative 14 minus 5. Are we case 1 or are we case 2? Case 1 or 2 with this?
1.
Definitely 1. It's just minus right there. Not 2, a minus and a negative, just our minus. Negative 14 will leave. We're going to do plus. Are you writing like that, by the way? I hope you are. I hope you're letting me see that work on that, because that's going to allow me to, even if you got the wrong answer, if you showed me that, at least I know you know what you're doing, and you just made a math error, all right? So the more steps you show me, the more partial credit I can give you on a test. That's a good thing. If you just go from here to the wrong answer, I give you nothing. If you go from here to here, and then you just screw something up and put 23, or I'm sorry, 22, negative 22 or something like that, or you mess up the positive, or whatever you did, or you did like negative 18 or something just a little bit off. If you do that, then at least I give you partial credit for doing this step. If you go straight to a wrong answer, I can't give you anything. Does that make sense to you? Yes? This one happens to be negative 19. Last one we got on the board here. We've got the minus and negative. That's 2 signs. We're going to change the 2 same signs into 1 different sign. That's going to be negative 3 plus 4. We'll use the addition rules. Different signs mean we're subtracting. Sign of the bigger number gives us a positive 1. What I'd like to know is how many people got at least 2 of these right. That means 2 or more. Keep your hands up if you got 3 or more right. 4, 5, all 6. Good for you guys. Good if you got all 6. That's fantastic. You know, just like addition, we can probably chain some of these things together. So let's look at a couple chain problems where we have more than just 2 terms. See how to accomplish those and move on. There we go. Isn't that pretty? Oh, that's nice. We love these ones. Okay. Well, too bad. We got to do it anyway. Oh, well. Well, you know what? We can go through this problem first. And instead of just going step by step, left to right, what we're going to do is go through one time and change anywhere we see a minus first. Then we can go step by step from the left using addition rules. Does that make sense to you? So first thing we're going to do, change the minuses. So I'm going to make a little note, make one on your paper. Change all the minuses first. So we'll go ahead and do that. Also, if you have plus signs, don't change the plus signs. That's what you want. So if there's plus signs in there, don't change those. Now, there aren't any right now, but in the next problems, we're going to get some pluses. We don't want to go about changing those back to minuses. That'd be a waste of time. So we're going to leave the plus signs alone. So change the minuses first. Don't change the plus signs. So first thing we're going to do, let's go through this together. Everywhere we see a minus, we're going to use one of our two cases to change that to a plus somehow. So we're looking at 7 minus 8. With 7 minus 8, am I going to change the minus to just a plus or a plus negative? You tell me. Okay, so let's do that. So 7 plus negative 8. Do you follow? Okay, next thing says minus negative 5. Can you tell me what minus negative 5 becomes? So we're going to do that. Right there, that makes it a whole lot easier. Minus and negative change to a plus. We can see that a lot better. And lastly, we'll do minus 1 changes to what now?
Negative.
Just a plus?
Negative.
Minus becomes a plus negative. Minus and negative becomes a plus. Minus becomes a plus negative. Now we can use the addition rule from left to right because that looks exactly like some of the problems we just had on your homework. This is it. It's about the same thing. So we'll go through left to right. Let's do this together. What is our 7 plus negative 8? Let's do that real quick.
Negative 1.
Good. We had different signs. We'll subtract, sign a bigger number, and we'll write the rest. Remember, we're doing this step by step because we're learning this stuff right now. If you know it, that's fine, but we're learning right now. And so we are going to go step by step until we get super good at this and you're in calculus and you can do this in your head, no problem. But for right now, we're going step by step. Next, we'll do the negative 1 plus 5. Negative 1 plus 5, everybody, how much negative 1 plus 5? 4. Great. Different signs, subtract, sign the bigger number. And lastly, we have 4 plus negative 1, we're going to get? 3, sure. We have different signs, we'll subtract, we'll keep the sign of a bigger number, we get positive 3. If you did this on your own and you made a mistake, that's okay, you're still learning right now, but I want you to watch where your mistakes are being made, okay? I don't want you just to go, oh, I made a mistake, let's try the next one. I want you to evaluate what happened. Please start doing that. That's the only way you learn. That's the only way we're going to make it past the Math 80 level in this class. So what I mean by that is, Jeff, I see y'all, let's answer one question. If you made a mistake in your signs, going from here to here or here to here, that's something you need to watch out for in the future. That's something that you really need to make a conscious effort to improve. If you messed up on your addition rules, then you know you're not exactly making mistakes here, but maybe your addition rules are a little bit off. Okay? That's where you need to focus your time and energy. So understand where you're making mistakes, that way you can go back and fix it. At this level, you're in college, right? It's not all about me. It's really all about you. You're the one who's supposed to be going back and studying and helping yourself. I give you the information, I explain it the best that I can, but it's up to you to really improve your own education here. Did you kind of get my point? You're past the level where I hold your hand. You're to the point where you take responsibility for your own educations. If you need help on this, then you come and see me, and by all means I'll help you. But you should be understanding where your mistakes are coming from, what you're doing, and then remedying that situation all on your own, without me having to show you that every single time. So start doing that on your own. Jeff, question?
I forgot it.
Serious? I rambled that long, you forgot your question? Oh, bummer. That happens to other people all the time. I talk just too much, and I talk over people like I just did, and then I forget.
I remember now.
What is it?
I didn't change, it's not a big deal, but I didn't change the negative 1 at the end, and I still got the same answer.
Yeah, you know what? If you do, because you're just 4 minus 1,
Yeah,
you're a
yeah.
positive minus a
I
positive.
went through like
That's fine.
all this stuff.
If you go ahead, if you change them as you go, yeah, sometimes you won't have to change the last one. I prefer changing them all, that way you know what you're dealing with. It's just the way I like to do it. Why don't you try one on your own and see what we get? There we go. Okay, let's see what happens on this thing. Now, first off, I do like to go through and change all the minuses. That way I only have to do it once, I don't have to keep thinking about it. So with this problem, I read this in my head, I hear -6, I'm going to leave that. I hear -5, so I'm going to write -6, and instead of -5, I'm going to change it to plus -5. Then I hear -2, I'm going to change it to plus -2. And lastly, +3 because we have minus and negative. Did you make it that far?
Yes.
Very good. Guys over here, left side? Okay, I see a lot of head nodding, that's
Do you
good.
like the parentheses around the 5 and the 2? Or
You know what you do? Just because that says that you have a plus minus, because that's kind of awkward, we like to say plus and negative. And that parentheses implies that that number, the value of that number is negative. So yeah, we put them around those. Okay? We don't want to get those signs confused either. That was a good question. Did you guys hear that question? She asked, why do we have to have the parentheses around like the -5 and the -2? And the answer is, yeah, you pretty much do. Because we don't want to confuse this with like a plus and a minus, because that's kind of awkward right there. We want to make sure we know that that's a negative valued number, and that's how what the
but
parentheses
what if you
are
know
for.
that you know what you're doing? Do you want to see it when you do it?
I want to see it, yeah.
Okay.
I do. I want to see everything for right now, because we're learning this, right? If you get to, when you, like I said, when you get to calculus, you can get this however you want, I don't care. As long as you get the right answer. But right now, if we're not following all these steps, a lot of people are, maybe not you, but a lot of people are going to get the wrong answer. So that's why we're making sure we do it that way. Good questions, everybody. Now, we'll continue on. We'll go step by step from the left. So -6 plus -5, what'd you get for -6 plus -5? Awesome. I'm going to rewrite the rest of that. We've got -11 plus -2 now. Again, we have the same signs. -13 plus 3. That's it. Show of hands how many people got -10. Oh, that's fantastic. Very good. You have a problem like this on your test.
Why did you put the parentheses around the second on the second
This one?
step? On the second step.
This one?
No, second.
This
Yeah,
one?
right there. Why did you put
Because it's
the-
not negative.
Oh.
Okay, you ready? We're going to incorporate some pluses and minuses, see if we can do this stuff. We'll talk about evaluation. That'll end our day. Question?
Yeah, when's our first test?
It's on your syllabus. I don't know exactly.
September 7th.
I think it's like a week from this coming Monday. I think. Okay. The what now?
We have class Monday.
Which Monday?
Yeah, be here.
Like 2 Mondays? Or like,
Is it this Monday or next Monday?
I don't know. What are you talking about?
No class
It's like
Monday.
the work day holiday.
Monday.
You guys are confusing me. What, are you talking about the test or the holiday?
The holiday.
Okay, in 4 days we have a holiday. You can show up if you want to.
It says 12 ones, which are the 12 to 16.
but I'm not going to be here.
Well, we need
Okay, good. Let's all just decide not to come, right? Forget the college, whatever, you know? And then the Monday after that, we are here. That's our test. We all good? Okay, moving on. And we get Sunday off too. Isn't that awesome? Booyah! That's fantastic. What a great country we live in that we get Sundays off. It's fantastic. Some countries don't get Sunday off.
Depends on what you do.
we have homework over the weekend?
What do you think?
No.
Have I changed from the Mr. Leonard from last week? I'm still not cool. Yeah, you probably will. Almost guaranteed. Yeah. But that's all right. It won't be that bad. At least you have more days to do it, right? I mean, that's awesome, I think, personally. All right, anyway, we'll get back to this thing. Now, what I just told you is that we're changing minuses, but those pluses, those work for us. Those we... Are we with it today?
Yeah.
Okay. Those pluses, those work for us. Those use the addition rule. We don't want to change those. Anywhere we see minus, yes. Pluses, no, leave them. So when we look at this problem, we got 7 plus negative 12. Shoot, leave that. We don't want to change that. That's addition rule right there. I mean, we don't want to be messing with that. So we'll just rewrite that part. Leave that thing alone. But the minus 3, that we need to change. Can you all tell me what does the minus 3 change into? Just a plus?
Less negative.
Negative.
Okay, plus negative 3, that's right. So we leave these two, it already has a plus. This becomes the plus negative, and the last two, the minus, the negative 8 becomes a, that's the one that just becomes plus 8. Okay, now we need to do addition rule from left to right. Go ahead and do that on your own, see if you can finish that on up. I'll put one more example on the board, then we'll talk about some evaluation. Oh my, I forgot this. Here. Make sure that goes around really quick. Is 9-1 already on top? Awesome. If you get done with those and you're waiting around, what I want you to do is consider this one and think about what we might do in this case, okay? That's a little different from anything we've had so far.
Oh, we're doing that one too?
Yeah, both those.
These are easy. I just see it in the book. They're just like that one in the book. And it's like, that's easy though.
Yeah, it's not, if you keep it step by step, none of this stuff is going to be really that bad. It's really, the problem happens when you try to do just all of this in your head at the same time. That's what makes it hard. Or at least it slows you down even. I know it might not seem like it because you're writing a lot, but if you try to do it all in your head, it will slow you down. Okay, we're about to get started on the very first one up here. Well, finished on the first one up here. So we've already changed everything to pluses. Hopefully you were able to go from the left 2 by 2 and get these. The 7 plus negative 12, we have the same sign or different signs there. So that means we're going to add or subtract?
Subtract.
And we'll keep the sign of the...
Larger.
So we're going to get negative 5 there. Did you get negative 5 there?
Yes.
So we have negative 5 plus negative 3. That's the next two terms. When we look at those, that's addition rule. Of course, that's why we changed the plus to make addition rule. And we have the same sign. We'll add them together, keep the common sign. You get negative 8. Oh my. What's negative 8 plus 8?
0.
Sure. Addition rule still works though. Different signs you subtract, you get 0. Sign of a bigger number, there is no bigger number. It's 0. 2, 0. Okay, next up, again, I'm going to change all the minus signs. So hopefully on your paper you have the negative 4, that'll stay the same. Can you please tell me what the minus negative changes to?
Plus.
Just a plus? Or is it plus negative?
Plus.
Very good. Plus 3. 2 signs to 1 sign. Plus 12, don't change those pluses. Those are nice, that's what we
I
want.
changed that right there.
You changed it?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know, I just figured that you would change it to a thing. Into a plus, negative 12.
Wherever you see a plus, do not change it. Ever. Those pluses are what we want. I'm glad you brought that up, because we don't want to be doing that, right? If you already have the plus, stick with the plus. Now this one, the minus negative 7, if you get minus negative 7, that changes everybody to a?
Plus.
Yeah, not plus negative 7, 2 signs to 1 sign. And then we're going to have minus 20 changes to? Perfect. That's where we do that one. And we'll put parentheses around that one to show that that's a negative value. So when we go on this problem, we'll get these first two. We'll get what out of negative 4 plus 3, folks? I like to rewrite them to reevaluate what I have up here. I've got negative 1 plus 12. How much is negative 1 plus 12? Positive?
Yes.
Next two are kind of nice. Positive numbers. 11 plus 7, we get? And lastly, we have 18 plus negative 20. Different signs there. We'll subtract. We'll keep the sign of the bigger number, and we will get? So yeah, it's a lot of steps. 1, 2, 3, 5 steps. Are any of them individually that hard? Not if you know the rules. Not if you know how to change minuses to pluses, and you can do addition rules. So as long as we stick step by step, we'll be okay on this stuff. Now, last few things I need to show you. Firstly, I wanted you to consider this problem that I wrote on the board over here. Now, of course, this is already written like we like it, right? Plus negative. We don't want to change that at all. But I want you to look over here where I have two negatives put together. It's not being subtracted. It's negative, negative 8. Or in other words, like I told you before, the opposite of negative 8. Can you tell me what is the opposite of negative 8? 8. So what you can do with this problem, whenever you see a negative negative, it's asking you for the opposite of negative 8. Make it a positive. You just told me the opposite of negative 8 was 8. That's what we're talking about. And then you can go on doing this problem. So whenever you have those two negatives next to each other, not only, hope you're listening right now, not only does it change a minus negative to a plus, but if you have the two negatives, it changes it to a positive. And we're going to discover more about that when we get to multiplication in the very next section. Now we can use our addition rules, of course, different signs. We'll subtract, sign of the bigger number, all that stuff, and we'll get 5. Okay, one last example I'll leave you with. We can also evaluate using this stuff. So 3y minus z, where y equals 9 and z equals negative 4. Now again, I've asked you this several times, hopefully you know, what does evaluate mean? Very good. Substitute variables into the numbers, and then
Just like work it out.
yep. I like to say we're not finding a solution because there's no equation. We can't solve it, therefore. So we manipulate it until we get one digit, single answer, a single numerical value. That's what we're doing. So we're going to go, okay, if it's 3y minus z, can you please tell me what I need to write up here?
3 times 9.
Great, I heard 3 times 9. And then what?
-4.
Okay, I'd like you to watch on the board here real quick. What a lot of people do, if they make a mistake on this problem, what they'll do is go, oh, I've got 3 times 9, that's the easy part, everyone's going to get that right. But I will have some people, if they're not paying attention, do this. Do you see how easy that would be to do? Because they see the minus, they see the -4, but they think, oh, it's already there, I don't need to put it again. That's not what evaluation says to do. What evaluation says to do is plug things in to the equation exactly like it is before you start doing any math. So the 3 stays the same. The y becomes a 9, but the minus, that stays there. And the z becomes -4. All by itself, -4, like that. So you can't change the equation or the signs of the equation. All you can do is plug in the numbers that they give you. After that, we see we have the same signs. We'll do 3 times 9 plus 4. That'll be 27 plus 4, or we'll get, that's it, 31. Would you raise your hand if today made sense for you? You're able to do this stuff. Good for you. That's fantastic.